such, for instance, like a landscaper's truck or something, they're currently in violation of our off-street parking code, so the code was changed. The planning board actually voted on something different from what I see here, so should I say what we voted on?
That would probably be good.
Okay, all right, because on the agenda, it says registered, one commercial vehicle registered to the property owner in the AR zoning district that's a class 4 vehicle or lower. As classified by the Federal Highway Administration. There's another part too, I'll get to that. So the planning board actually, after a lot of discussion, voted on allowing up to 3 vehicles, class 6 or lower. So class 6.
Wait 1 minute. I'm getting looks from Julia.
Oh,
one
sorry.
second.
What's the advertising?
I don't have the ad.
I don't either.
It was in there.
Sugar Sync.
It was in Sugar Sync.
Off-street parking requirements.
I don't have it pulled up.
Is that the, is that the advertisement?
86, I don't know.
No, the ad. not
The ad.
Okay.
So we need
the
to,
ad.
it was in Sugar Sync. I saw it.
No,
Cheryl, you got it?
it's not in this. So.
First hearing, that's what
I-
That's the one I read.
You found the ad in there?
I can't find it.
I've got 4 items under the first hearing. I don't,
So the actual.
That's what I have.
Right.
Those are the
Right, I
actual
don't see the ad.
amendments.
Mrs. Dillon, do you happen to have the ad?
See it. See it.
Okay.
Away
know
the
it.
action.
Well, if
Let's
the-
go to a commercial
if the
break.
ad is correct, then we
Can you
just
put your-
say, well,
we're not gonna be voting on it. and-
No, but if the ad is, but we can't, if it's
Even
that much
discuss it.
different, I would suggest
can't
not
discuss it.
discussing
Yeah.
it because the agenda's wrong. But if the ad is correct, you can just vote to continue to the
Okay.
next meeting, then you don't have to re-advertise.
Okay.
And then we just put it on the
Wait
next.
upon
agenda.
Mrs. Dillon. It would be in regards to that 286.
Off-street parking requirements in section 38-156 residential compound. So it's in there, he doesn't list everything, he just. puts
Okay,
it in.
so I'm gonna suggest just continuing the discussion, the first hearing on this to the next meeting, because we now have 2 items that were listed a little funky on the agenda.
Mm,
But the ad is correct.
Okay.
So just continue it and we'll change the language for the next agenda.
Someone's coming in the door.
Is that Mrs. Rath?
Certificate. I'm hoping.
He's going around the back.
Oh,
Going around the back.
okay.
So should I not say anything more about
Yeah,
what?
we just
38
have it.
86, we're gonna wait until September.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So then 38-356 residential compound.
Yeah, yes, so
Go ahead,
Um,
Julia.
All together.
Then
And
let's.
yeah,
we're
maybe
gonna
just
continue.
do this whole first reading at the September meeting, just to
Okay.
keep everything together. That might be easiest.
So
because-
do we need a motion to continue this first
Yes,
hearing? with
because the
those?
public hearing. is
Okay, I'll make a
open.
motion to continue.
They're on, so we haven't,
I'm going,
I don't understand, because it's been done that way in the past.
no, but the language is wrong on the agenda. The language is wrong.
So what was advertised was right, but what's on the agenda is going to be not.
Okay.
So okay, so
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing, the first hearing for zoning on section 38-273 corner lots, section 38-281 development standards for multifamily dwellings and comprehensive permit application for affordable housing, section 38-286 off-street parking requirements, section 38-356 residential compounds, and section 38-389 site planning design standards for multifamily dwellings.
Second.
further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Susan.
all right, it's getting easier by the minute.
So we will move that to the first meeting in September.
Okay,
So next I will open the public hearing for chapter 16, manufactured homes and trailers. Again, this is the first hearing, so we will not be voting on it. But go ahead, section 16-85, and again, we're going to hear all of them at once and then move forward.
okay. So 16-85, the only change to this is changing the word for trailers to for mobile homes. So trailers is changing to mobile homes. And that's just correcting the terminology. That's the only thing on this.
Any questions on that? Hearing none, I'm going to close that portion of the public hearing. I will ask my 3 and 3. Anyone who wants to speak in favor? Anyone that wants to speak in favor? Anyone that wants to speak in favor? Anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close that section of the public hearing. Moving on to second hearing, which means that the council may or may not vote. The first one is chapter 6, amusements. I will open that public hearing.
And just as a reminder to the council, these are on because it's proposed by the planning board to remove all of these ordinances because they weren't being exercised anyway.
Thank you. Moving on.
Julia just said what I was going to say. So section 658, section 659, 660, and 661 are indeed just to remove them because the council eliminated the need for event licenses, and all these are referring back to event licenses.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Mrs. Ryder?
You're not sorry.
Don't be sorry. Come on. Look at all the fun you're having.
Is it on?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as long as you say the screen light up.
Oh, all right, the screen, yeah, the screen is.
Okay.
I can't remember whether or not there was a definition for an event. Because I know we did have the rodeo question. Is that an event that would not need any kind of a license or a permit or anything?
It's under mass.
There's no event license anymore.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
So I guess, Mrs. Ryder, your question is,
it doesn't matter how big it is unless it has food trucks, or did that go away too?
That would be under mass gatherings, right?
That's with the food trucks. It depends on, is it a repeated use? Would it require zoning for special use permit or a use variance or anything like that? That's a case by case basis. It's one of those things where we have to have the actual situation in front of us. to
Okay,
determine
so
what it is.
someone could put on, we could become Woodstock, and if it's a one-time thing, that's okay.
I wanted to go there. Now I can.
Okay, that's just my
That-
question.
good question. Any other questions regarding this? Hearing none, I'm going to close this public hearing. And first I will ask my 3 and 3. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this change? Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this change? Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this change? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this change? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone that would like to speak to opposition? Thank you. I'm closing it. I'll open it to the council. What's the pleasure of the council?
I think we make a motion and get rid of this now.
Do you want to make the motion, Cheryl, or would you like me
Is
to?
that the motion?
I mean, need to be more specific.
Go ahead,
Motion.
Heidi.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve the recommendations of the planning board regarding chapter 6 amusements, section 6-58 assignments of police officers after application evaluation, section 6-59 barriers to issuance, section 6-60 violation of division to result in revocation, section 6-61 waiver of bond, license fee, and other division requirements.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on. This next one is also a second hearing, and this is chapter 16, manufactured homes and trailers. Again, we're going to take all three at once, so go ahead.
My question is, wasn't this tabled at the last meeting until we could have a meeting with a joint
Yes.
meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I thought too. So we can open it, continue it until,
You can vote to continue without opening this.
okay. So I will accept a motion to continue.
Make a motion to continue. Second.
And Chris. Any further discussion? I have sent an email to Mr. Renzi and Mrs. and Ms.
Downs,
Downs.
Fortunes.
Yes, thank you. I have not heard back from Mr. Renzi.
Okay.
So after tonight, I will respond to him again. So we will continue this until we can have a joint meeting to discuss this further. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Look how easy this is.
Yes.
Let's move.
I think you
Super
spoke
easy.
too soon.
Let's move on to the second hearing for chapter 18 nuisances.
So chapter 18, should I go through everything I went through at the last meeting? I did, there were things that were brought up that I have,
Perfect.
I can
That would be-
address those
yes, that would be
specific things. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is the dark sky ordinance, and it has several different sections to it, but they're all together. There were some concerns that arose at the town council meeting when this was first presented, and then there were a couple things that came up afterwards too. So I wanted to address those things. One question that was raised was a concern about the safety and security, and the ordinance. That's a top priority for the ordinance, safety and security. I am going to just read the first section of it, which is the purposes section 18-33. The general purpose of this article is to protect and promote the public health, safety, and welfare, the quality of life, and the ability to view the night sky by establishing regulations and a process of review for exterior lighting. This ordinance shall take effect upon adoption, and its provision shall supersede any inconsistent or contrary provision in any other ordinance. This article establishes standards for exterior lighting in order to accomplish the following. 1, to protect against direct glare and excessive lighting. 2, to protect the ability to view the night sky and to help preserve the quality of life. 3, to prevent light trespass. 4, to promote energy efficient and cost-effective lighting. 5, to ensure that sufficient lighting can be provided where needed to promote safety and security. So that's that direct reference to the concern. And 6, to provide lighting guidelines. And then in section 1836 under criteria, under number 5, non-residential lighting control, it refers to directional fixtures such as floodlights, wall packs, and spotlights shall require approval from the planning board when going through the requisite land development application process, or the building official when a new fixture is a new fixture is to be added to an existing use. So existing use, not it's a new fixture to an existing use, not the light that currently exists. It's when it's being changed. Such fixtures shall conform to the following requirements. And I'll skip most of that, but just say when after hours site security lighting is required, the use of motion sensor controlled lighting is encouraged. So again, the use of encouraged is important because a lot of the ordinance is talking about encouraged suggested. It's not a very severe ordinance. It's just giving some protections and a framework, especially for new construction projects, which will require people to come forward with a lighting plan. And then some regulations for residential lighting so that people have a way to address anything that's too intrusive. So the security should not be an issue because it's not saying that if you've got a business that needs to be lit and protected, that you can no longer do that, or you have to change everything right away. Did you have a question?
Are you on?
Okay, I'm ready. Did it say you're gonna get approval from the planning board?
That's what I heard,
For,
a lighting plan.
for new, and any new plan that's coming forward, then yes, the planning board or the building official, when a new fixture is to be added.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, Susan said, the ordinance is to provide lighting guidelines. Guidelines that we don't have to ensure that the lighting is not too intrusive. It's not blinding people. It's not shining in residents' windows. It's an encouraged lighting guideline that we don't currently have.
And
Encourage-
to answer
say
your
encourage.
question,
What happens if
One
they
minute.
don't? Oops.
Go ahead.
if they are going through the land development process for a subdivision or something like that, the planning board will include something about lighting in their decision. But if it is an existing building and they are putting new lights on the existing building, this reads as the building official can just sign off on it. So it doesn't require application to the planning board.
All right.
Cheryl, does
Okay.
that answer your?
Well, the way he said it, guaranteed it, to ensure they guarantee that, right? If they don't comply,
It's encouraged,
It's
I believe.
encourage, that's the word, not
Encourage, right.
guarantee,
Yeah.
encourage. What
So-
happens then?
Well, it's encouraged. It doesn't say it's mandatory. Right?
Okay,
It's
okay.
encouraged. And can I just ask, this is for both residential and commercial?
Well, that's specifically talking about non-residential, so that would be
Okay.
commercial.
That-
Yeah,
that's-
what I just read. I mean, there is a lot in
Okay.
there about residential, but the security issue
Is for.
was raised about a business. And
Okay.
so I was directly addressing the
So
business
somebody's
security.
doing new construction for residents. Would they still have to come, or does that go through the building and zoning official?
That, new, residential is, I think it says it's exempt from. It's exempt from having to come before the board, I think. Let me find it.
I thought that's what I read too, but I just wanted to make that clear to anybody who's listening that's thinking of building a new house, that they're not freaking out that they've got to
Right, that,
come to a planning board.
Yeah. But the building and zoning official
Good.
has to approve it,
Yeah, plans always have to go before the building official.
but they
It has
never
to-
included lighting.
So,
No, always.
External lighting?
Permits, lighting, exterior lighting is still part of any residential building permit,
Is it?
always,
Is it?
so
always.
I
I'm
didn't.
gonna make sure he reads this.
Exterior
Section
lighting on residences is part of a bill.
residential is
Submit drawings.
1836 D
okay. I just found
Three.
that too, yeah.
I D3. We'll go with D3. And then everything underneath that is part of residential.
All right. So,
And to answer Cheryl's question, there is an enforcement chapter.
That was
Associated.
gonna be my
Yeah,
That's
question.
what I
too.
wanted to know. Thank you.
Enforcement, yes.
okay,
I mean,
and
otherwise,
fines.
why do we do this?
Right, and do you want me to read the?
No.
After you, okay. So is that, should I move on or? To my next,
I think I need more clarification.
I do too.
Thank you. So, if someone is building a new house, they do not need to come to the planning board to get approval for lighting, but they do have to submit it to the building and zoning official to say, this is what it's going to look like. And what if someone's adding
A spotlight.
a
for the back-
spotlight
yeah,
for
their
like,
backyard.
I will say I've added a spotlight to
sure.
the side
Me
yard
too.
because we had some people wandering through. So if I was going to do this from this point forward, I would have had to come to the building and zoning official to put in a new floodlight.
Or planning board. it sounds
section
like.
18-37, it's under administration. It says, so it's a single-family property owners shall be exempt from this section and may install outdoor lighting without prior approval from the town. Such lighting shall be in conformance with the criteria section of this section. And then when I'm on C, wherever outdoor lighting is proposed, lighting plans shall be required and approved during the subdivision, land development plan review, zoning relief application, or building/electrical permit application process.
Okay.
So the first answer is no, you wouldn't have to come before
If I'm
Okay.
adding one,
if you're adding one.
but if I'm doing new construction, it goes through the building and zoning official?
If it's a one-off and doesn't require like a subdivision
Right, so if
application
I
or
just
special
have
permit or
a
anything like that.
5 acre piece of property or a 10 acre piece of property, and I'm not subdividing it, I'm just building a house, I can just go through the building and zoning official.
Because what you're doing is you're submitting your building plans so that they can ensure that it meets building code. He will just also apply the
Okay.
lighting criteria in his review of your application for building permit and electoral permit.
But just
Perfect.
adding an additional spotlight somewhere.
You don't-
As long as
just
do it.
they,
unless
if
you're
this is on,
add-
if
unless
this is
you're
the
doing
good
more
faith,
electrical for them.
yeah,
Oh, then you.
Need
yeah,
the
yeah,
electrical permit.
If you have to get.
but it's,
electrical permit.
this reads as like a good faith. They're trusting you to abide by the criteria. If
Mine
you're
was-
just throwing
mine
up a
was
solar.
solar. Okay,
So, with that being said, B. Nuisance clear,
You're right.
says the town.
where are you?
Tony?
1836B,
38.
38.
1838.
Enforcement.
1838, okay.
okay, enforcement.
I gotta check it out that.
The town may notify the persons responsible for the lighting required appropriate remedial action. Who's that person?
I mean, who's the person in the town?
Yeah,
I would
The
say
inspector.
building and zoning.
and that's what it should say.
That could be.
Oh, you're at
changed.
B, okay,
Okay.
I'm moving. down.
So to change town to building official. Right, which building officials used elsewhere.
The
Yeah.
top of that paragraph. the
Yeah.
very top paragraph, yeah.
Okay. So when we make a motion, include the changing of enforcement from to the town,
I would make it a little broader. I think you were gonna do there, the town is used several times in this. I would say amend 1838 so that everywhere where the town has authority, it's the building official.
okay. Thank you.
So then another point that I wanted to address that had been brought up was, in the last meeting, there were questions about whether compliance would be a deterrent for new businesses. And I know we addressed that, but I thought it would be important to just reiterate that, as one of the other planning board members had said, that dark sky compliant lighting is readily available, so it's not hard to find. And in many cases, it's frequently a cost saving measure. So it's frequently preferable. So by requesting that dark sky lighting or dark sky international lighting is used again as a recommendation, not a absolute mandate. Even the recommendation is not a hardship, doesn't present a burden to a potential business.
It could be cheaper in the long.
It could be cheaper. It could very easily be cheaper.
All right.
And then another concern that was raised was specifically related to riding rings. And after that, Hillary Downs Fortune had sent me a few things about that. She did a little research, and one of them was a YouTube video where it was a lighting company specifically talking about dark sky compliant lighting for horse rings. So I'm happy to share that video, but they do exist. It is already a accepted thing, and the darksky.org site also has a comprehensive list of lighting options for all needs and uses.
I
So-
saw that.
It should be easy to safely light a ring in a manner that does not trespass onto a neighbor's property. And again, these are recommendations too, to keep in mind. This isn't like a absolute, you have to do this or you pull out the.
Okay. That was your question, Mr. Stone. Do you have any
I
further?
was gonna ask about writing things.
No, so I don't have any neighbors close enough.
Okay.
Attaboy, Chris.
well, and another thought too is that they're not, you're not running all night long either, right? Yeah, so that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Chris.
I have other questions, but
Okay.
that answered that.
and then the last thing that I wanted to bring up that had come up at the last meeting was related to protecting rights. So I know there's a concern that residents might use this ordinance to harass neighbors by
Mhm.
reporting on non-conforming lighting. I wanted to flip that around and just give a little story about when we first moved into our house. We were just so thrilled at how lucky we were to be in this place with these gorgeous, we would walk out and look up the stars and think, oh my God, how did we get so lucky? And then across the street, a new neighbor moved in and he started turning on this spotlight that was aimed directly at our house in our driveway, illuminating everything and killing the stars, our view of the stars. And so it went on for a few nights and we thought, all right, this is something he's doing every single night. But we just went across the street and we talked to him. We said, is there any way you could turn the spotlight so it's facing the other way and not on our house? He had no idea that he never even thought about it. So he did one better than that. He turned the spotlight off and it never, 20 years have gone by, never went back on again. He did eventually put in motion sensor lighting so that if, someone or usually just a creature or the neighbor's house or something walk by, the lights go on, but the spotlight, he's never seen a need for the spotlight again. So I know they're bad actors everywhere. I do believe that most people in this town are like my neighbor, and that if there was an issue, that someone could go over and say, look, I don't think you realize this, but your lights are ruining our appreciation of the night sky. And then there are people that do have the misfortune to have a bad relationship with their neighbors, which certainly does exist. This ordinance gives those people some protection, some way to go to the town and building official and say, look, I have a problem with a neighbor who's shining a light in my yard that cannot be solved by me just going to talk to him. So it gives a protection for one of the most valuable features that I feel like in our town is the dark sky. So those were the four things that had come up that I just wanted to address here.
Thank you.
Are you?
Any questions from the audience? I'm gonna take Nicole first. Somebody different. State name and address, please.
Nicole Andrus-Gavage, Foster Center Road, 69 Foster Center Road. I just have a question about the enforcement section and the administration section, I believe is where we talked about residential properties. And there was some language in there that said that they were exempt from the building zoning officials review and having to go before the planning board for residential. The second sentence that you read after that then has a shall in it that says, you shall have compliant lighting. But to me, if it's something that it's recommending that you have the lighting that is listed in the dark sky ordinance and on their websites and in their literature, then there should be no mandatory language thereafter that suggests that it has to be done.
So the shall should be a may.
There's a lot of shalls in there.
Or should, any word other than shall, shall to me is
It's
mandatory.
a mandate, yes.
And when you have an enforcement section and you're saying shall everywhere, then wherever you're enforcing any of the shalls in that entire ordinance. And to me, it seems a little restrictive for something that's meant to be a guideline or a recommendation.
Actually, it's a contradiction.
It should be May.
Yes.
Good catch, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you.
But then why
certainly
have
was-
it at all if it's all just a may? And then what is the enforcement for? If, you're saying, it's a recommendation, then if it's a recommendation, how can you enforce something? I don't know. I've got a lot of,
Well, when
I
we
got it.
close it,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
to the council.
okay.
Mrs. Ryer.
I had one comment.
Lynn Ryder.
Lynn Ryder,
Road.
Burgess Road. Am I up? Okay. I just had one comment about that. The shall and the may, and that was when you were talking about someone going to build a new house and they come before the building and zoning official with your plans. I know that usually the house shows where all your outdoor lighting's going to be. At that point, are you saying that the building and zoning official can just suggest, oh, by the way, we really appreciate it if they, you use dark sky, shielded lighting as opposed to the other, or will they have to use it? Or are they exempt?
That was the whole, I know, well, that was the whole enforcement thing that I think we were
Right.
just discussing.
Right,
Yeah.
but I did
Shall
hear the word
versus-
exempt when it talked about property owners, and I didn't know if it only meant if they were replacing a light, or were they exempt from the get-go on a new house, but you have always had to show where the lighting is.
So you bring up a great point, but the spirit and the intent, again, the spirit and the intent again of the ordinance, when Susan mentioned exempt, it was exactly as you said. It was if you want to change out a fixture or add a fixture, which you wouldn't have to go to the building official and take out a permit normally to do that, depending on the level of the work. If you were going to put a baseball field in your backyard, then that's with stadium lighting, that's a different question. But I do see some ambiguity. Susan, can you elaborate like what conversation happened at the meetings on this whole may, shall? Has it been brought up, this ambiguity in the language?
No, it wasn't brought up because it wasn't intended to be ambiguous. So I think that it was an
Nicole.
an excellent point that should be corrected. But the intention is to provide some very strong recommendations. There are, in terms of enforcement, there are some measures that can be taken by the building official to, if there are problems, that need to be remediated. So I think that the enforcement is not completely without teeth.
And Ms. Rogers brings up a good point. I mean, because if we do try to be friendly and generous and say may or might or should, that doesn't imply compliance.
Right.
Right.
And then you can't enforce it. If it's a recommendation, we strongly recommend,
Right,
then, yeah, there's no enforcement there.
so,
Exactly.
right,
Well, I'm just.
so might I suggest that we move this back, not start over and not, but continue
Right.
this hearing
Just for
to
clarification.
September to get the clarification of the ambiguity between encouraged, shall, may, enforcement, that type.
And Susan, a perfect note that you made, that not every resident is good, let's say, not every relationship is good. So you go with that thought that you had a good neighbor who agreed and saw the error and complied, but in the case that there's one that doesn't, so bring back your point. That's the point you need to address. What do we do in case of that?
Right,
Right.
right. And I'm just looking because I felt like there had been something that showed enforcement, but perhaps not. It does, let me just read this one thing and see if it addresses what we're talking about. This is 18-38 and B. When the town, and we'll change that to building official, judges an installation produces unacceptable levels of nuisance glare, skyward light, excessive or insufficient illumination levels, or otherwise varies from this ordinance, the town may notify the persons responsible for the lighting and require appropriate remedial action. If the appropriate corrective action has not been taken within 30 days of notification and the town determines the infraction so warrants, the town may initiate appropriate legal action. So that does
There you
add
go.
a little teeth
But
to it.
isn't that subjective? I mean, how do you measure light? How do you
Well,
measure?
well, you actually can measure light and
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
so,
looking at
it's-
the,
but I mean, is it in the opinion of, I guess in this case, the building and zoning official to determine whether this level of light is unacceptable?
Well, can I take a stab at that?
sure,
So
yeah.
I think what Susan mentioned is a good point. When you illuminate your property, but your property illumination now bleeds over and is shining in someone's window. I think
Window, it could be the yard.
Yeah,
It's
it could
affecting
be.
their nut ducts.
Right, it could be. I think the whole dock ordinance suggestion is the appropriate shield downlighting where you can illuminate the immediate area, because those fixtures, there is a measurement, there is a calculation where you've got a cone shaped downlighting and there is a footage radius that it's manufactured to cover. So these lights have to be selectively chosen, and there are choices. So if you're up 18 feet, you've got a wider berth than if you're up 8 feet. So in a walkway lighting. So I think it is case by case. I think it does depend on,
Yeah,
it does depend on if the inappropriate light was chosen. And I think in new construction, you won't have that because George can interact with the resident in new construction and say, hey, these fixtures are up on a pole 18 feet and they're looking out over the neighbor's yard. I mean, you're gonna have to redirect them, and he might question it before the installation goes in. Not George, but anybody,
Right.
any building official.
Right.
But what gives this teeth is that if there is a complaint from a landowner.
Right. Mhm.
To the town, then it has merit and it has teeth and it can be dealt with more
Yeah.
severely, I think,
And
or adequately.
also just add that section 1836 has the criteria.
Mhm.
And the criteria spells out very clearly illumination level. So it's the illumination level shall be appropriate to the application. They shall not be greater than is reasonably necessary for its purpose. I realize that's a shall.
Perfect.
And then it talks about fixture design, lamp correlated color temperature. So it's talking about
Warm white. cool
Yes.
white, bright white.
and then lighting control, which as you were saying about the downward,
Yep, down light.
the shielded downward lighting. And then it talks about lighting control for single family and 2-family residential properties. Fixtures such as, did I read this part already? Floodlights, wall packs, and spotlights shall be permitted for use by individual property owners, but shall conform. Again, all right, so we'll fix the shells.
But then-
conform.
I'm sorry, Jeff, but I'm gonna forget it if I don't say it now. Reasonable, that's subjective.
yes.
Right, so I think if people are not, if they're two neighbors that have very different views of what is reasonable,
Mhm.
I think then they have recourse to go to the building official and say, look.
And
I've-
then the building official has to make what's reasonable.
Right, but there are guidelines for what's reasonable. So if the
Mhm.
building official sees that a spotlight is aimed at a property and it's not, no attempt is being made to
Right.
mitigate the trespass on the neighbor, then I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that person is being unreasonable.
Too soon.
Julia, you have
yeah,
something to
yeah.
add to this?
I would suggest putting this on the agenda for your joint meeting with the planning board. I think
Okay.
that would resolve a lot of the questions, and then the public is also able to ask questions with both the council and the planning board present.
Could I make one more comment?
Sure, go right ahead, Mr.
Take two.
Is that on? It doesn't-
Yeah, it's on.
No, just
No,
look at the,
it's on.
look at the little
Okay, yeah,
window.
it's on.
and the
The
numbers.
little light is
If
not.
you can see numbers, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. It was just about, the horse riding or any sports venue, actually. If I'm riding in a ring at night, I would prefer to have the illumination hitting the ground,
Mhm.
not in my horse's eyes, not in my eyes. So it benefits all if you are just same thing for ball players.
Mhm.
You want to illuminate the surface. Not necessarily, that people can't see.
Thank you. So I'm going to
Continue it
continue this public
indefinitely, though,
hearing.
we don't need
Right,
to select a date.
Right. We'll continue this at a later
I
date.
do just want to give you two things to think about for that joint meeting.
Okay.
How involved in private rights of nuisance does the town want to get?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
typically neighbor disputes over light
Are
are
civil.
private,
Yeah.
civil rights
Yeah.
or private
Okay.
That was the
actions
question.
of nuisance, not involving the town. Your building and zoning official is busy enough as it is. You don't really want to bog him down with things that can be handled independently. And then you might want to take a second look at the enforcement. If the purpose of this ordinance, as far as residential goes, is a should or an encouragement to do something, the teeth don't matter. You can't enforce something that's not required.
Okay.
Can I add one
Sure.
thing? That there are many towns with dark sky ordinances right now that have been working, and that there is I think a push and a need for many towns in Rhode Island to have such a dark sky ordinance. So I don't think it's just like a one-off on our part that we're just
No,
in a
I
win.
agree.
Yeah.
Susan, can I ask you a question?
Go right ahead.
Is it appropriate to consult or go on the website of other towns and see what model they use?
Yes, certainly. And actually, we had, when we were working on the draft of this ordinance, and now I'm totally blanking on her name, but it was a colleague, Bob Horton is the manager of the Brown Observatory. And so he did review and give
That's
some
right.
guidance,
Right.
but also a colleague of I'm going to put you on the spot, Bob, a colleague of Bob's worked on the dark sky ordinance for Charlestown. And she also was one of the people who, I'm of course not going to find this now. She was one of the people who helped get Rhode Island recognized as a dark sky by Dark Sky International. Is that correct, Bob? That's right. Okay.
So maybe we can suggest that Bob does homework and tries to get his head around how to present this at the planning. Well, maybe Bob could be a guest at the planning board. Bob could be you're voluntold. Bob could be an expert witness at the planning board collective meeting, and Bob can give the business case that Charlestown used, and maybe lessons learned from the mistakes and the changes and the amendments that they had to go through to get it right.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. And also Middletown was another town's ordinance that was drawn heavily on for this. So we don't have a connection there, but we can share the Middletown ordinances
Excellent,
too.
excellent.
Perfect. And
Thank you, Bob.
I'll
Thank you for
include that
volunteering,
when
Bob.
I email Mr. Renzi and Hillary tomorrow. And he cannot give you a directive. He might think he can, but he can't, Mr.
I thought it was
I
still.
think he's got power hungry now that he signed something.
So, thank you. So I will accept a motion from the council.
I'll make a motion to continue this second hearing, chapter 18 nuisances, section 18-33 purposes, section 18-34 definitions, section 18-35 applicability, section 18-36 criteria, section 18-37 administration, section 18-38 enforcement, and section 18-39 non-conforming lighting to a future agenda.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
And I think that was a very productive.
It was.
2 out of 5.
Yeah, but it like Denise said, it is productive.
It was productive, so thank you. Moving on to old business. I realized when I was working on the agenda that we discussed bulk waste, but we did not discuss fees. So I put it back on. I had emailed Heidi telling her that we wanted to discuss fees and she sent something forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was the last time that we met, we had that, it was. Well, I gotta pull it up on here, I don't have it printed out or like in there.
I didn't notice it in the last,
Yeah,
I think in the last, okay,
okay,
so go ahead. So I looked at it today.
yeah, so it was, I'm gonna pull it up on here, sorry, I didn't print it out. Oh, no.
Oh, it's not there, but
it's
if you
not
go in,
there.
I think it is in Sugar Sink.
I've got
It
it, the
is.
fee structure, yeah.
You do, so it, we wanna make it. So we
Can,
reduce some of our fees
I'm sorry, can it be pulled up? It would be,
from the last
I don't know
meeting.
how you.
It says
I don't know.
It's
either.
not
it's
on,
bulk waste, it's just,
Yeah, if you email it to me, I can put.
okay, just so that everyone can see what it is. Thank you. So go ahead, Heidi.
So, we wanted to make it so we reduce some of our fees, our overage and tonnage fees, but not make it so expensive that people are like, well, I'm not gonna go pay $30 or whatever to
Mhm.
get rid of a couch. I'm just gonna dump it somewhere. So the fees I thought were pretty reasonable. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be accepted and there's a whole list of them. Things that can be accepted at the DPW,
Yeah, free of
appliance,
charge.
yes, free of
Oh, I see
charge,
it here, yeah.
appliances which go into their scrap. And when they turn the scrap in, they get, we get money back for that.
Yep.
And then there are, there are certain things like appliances with Freon that you would have to pay. It was like $5 for an air conditioner. Again, I don't have it in front of me.
$15 for an air conditioner,
The large
25
one.
for a refrigerator.
There was something that was 5. Was it the small propane tank?
Drop off
Yeah,
at
'cause we-
25-pound tank.
Right,
Yep.
and they must be empty because
Yep.
they've had issues like
Oh,
that in the
You're right.
past.
Right,
So it just seems reasonable and, we're just paying a lot. But it's not gonna break anybody to
Right,
pay
so-
like $20 for a couch.
It's a place to start.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree. And so everybody knows, and especially those folks
Next
on,
page.
those folks online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
It's-
Thank you.
It seems like the fee structure that came up makes sense because those things that can be reclaimed by DPW, as Heidi said,
Mm.
and we can recoup money and scrap is no fee, which
Right.
makes sense. Why would you charge me if you're
Right.
gonna make money off of it? The only fee comes into place when it's things that are left really that are either cost money to dispose of
Yeah.
or won't be picked up won't be dropped off at DPW, but curbside pickup.
Right,
Cause
No,
we
it's
get
the
charged
bulk.
by the pound
It's
or ton.
the people that put
Right.
a ton,
a
yeah.
ton of stuff out.
Right.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
bulky
It-
loads.
The construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the
absolutely.
construction, we're
Oh,
taking
but
care
what I'm
of
saying
now.
is the fee structure is reasonable.
Yeah,
And where
Right.
the town can recoup money and scrap, there's no fee. But when it costs the town money to dispose of it, or it's curbside pickup, the
mhm.
town requires a nominal fee.
Right.
So if, I just have a couple of things as I'm looking through this. The mattress and box springs, they cannot be wet. They have to be dry.
Right, and they can just bring them to the
To
DPW
right.
and they accept them free of charge.
Right.
that's free now. Used
It
to
is,
be-
well, they charge you, when you get a mattress now, there's like a $20 charge, like if you get a new mattress,
Yeah.
you're charged extra,
Recycling fee.
like, and they'll usually take your old one, but anyway, it's free of charge at the DPW. Mhm.
Where it says paint cans, contact Eco Depot.
Yep, cause
So maybe we can include
With
the
our-
contact information, like the telephone number or
Yes.
something like that. on
or
that.
we take them on Earth Day, I think
Right.
it says on that.
Right, not, I was gonna say the last time you did not.
I thought we did accept, where are you? Sorry. Yes.
You have to come up and tell your name and address.
Eco Depot is the only thing that takes the actual paint cans. They do it when they feel like it, where they feel like it. Earth Day, they don't show up at Foster anymore, because Lou Benegro no longer has any pull with the.
So it can't be
Okay.
brought to, it can't be
All right,
brought to
so-
DPW.
So DPW cannot accept the paint cans?
I don't think they will.
Okay, then that's a mistake here.
So I think it has to go to what
Can you turn that microphone on?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they're
Don't
not,
touch it.
I thought we
All right,
did,
so,
so get rid of the Earth
Okay,
Day.
don't-
so let's start at the beginning where it says furniture.
Mhm.
Requires a sticker for curbside pickup, couches, recliners, wooden beds, cribs, vanities, outdoor furniture, $10, $15, $25, depending on estimated weight and volume.
Mhm.
So what is, here's that
The question,
subjective, what's
right,
estimated? I mean, do we need a pound, a weight limit to
see,
that?
now that was a dilemma for me as well, because who's going to determine?
A single
Well,
bed?
if
When we
somebody-
talked to John,
Yep.
and he is, people putting whole housefuls of furniture out on the road.
There,
His guys call him. And he'll say, okay, take that and that,
a one thing a
Leave-
week or something like.
leave
that.
the rest.
Yeah,
Then he come back the next week, it's still sitting there.
yeah,
So, okay, just out of respect, take that. And the regular trash. And-
I
But
get that.
in the end result is
right,
the
where,
town's paying.
right, but
We're all
how do we determine the fee by the
Weight,
estimated
value.
weight and volume? Are we going to determine that if it weighs 20 pounds, it's $10?
That's a fair question.
If it weighs 100 pounds, it's $50?
Right, everything will be 10 bucks.
Right,
Well, they'll come in and tell you that, right? You have.
Right.
permit.
But a bureau's not 10 pounds.
Well,
So,
but.
Maybe we should be a little more detailed.
Right,
Should we say,
On
when
that
you,
portion of it.
when I go to the town hall and visit, the town clerk, should I have to have a picture of what I'm getting?
How many pieces you got?
Should I take a picture and show it? Should I show a phone picture, like on my
Alright, so,
phone?
I mean, we're adding more.
no, it's a legit question. And this was something I questioned too. Does the DPW director have to go out and look at it
Right,
before they get an estimate of how much it's gonna
Gonna
weigh?
weigh.
Or, I mean,
right,
who
so,
else?
I
who
mean,
else
that's, yeah, that's a big question now.
It is.
So, I mean, because we can't just say, okay,
Well, because you said like carpet, I mean, some people like rip up a little carpet in their
Right.
mud room or something, and it's this big and that big, and it's
Then
not a big
Other
deal.
people.
But other
pull
people
ropes.
rip their whole house apart
right,
and
so
have,
then what, so do we? Oh, I think we're into a.
Lynn has.
We're in the
a question.
weeds here.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
it's a
Well-
legit question though, and that's.
Well,
what
I mean,
So
Like I said, it was a place to stop.
The
Right,
spirit
it
of-
is, it is, and I'm not disputing that, I think it's a good place to stop, but I think that that's
We
the
gotta
question, we
yeah,
gotta clarify that. So there's that. Metal bed frames can be dropped off at the DPW container for free of charge, no
Mhm.
commercial waste. The mattress and box springs, they need to be dry, the
Mhm.
motor oil can be dropped off.
Mhm.
We do have an
paint
oil.
Cans,
You correcting that,
Eco Depot
yeah,
with contact information. Propane must be empty.
yeah,
And you have there $5 for 25, so I think we need to come up with something like that for the furniture. Where you said $5 for 25-pound tank, 10
Right.
pounds for, and that's pretty standard because
Mhm.
your tanks are. Scrap metal again, and small appliances, typically electric items with the
so
cord.
posters and stuff like
Toasters.
that.
So I have a suggestion that like I would use in work. Let's categorize it small, medium, and large. So when I have a bureau, we have to come to a consensus that it's a medium load. Because it's one bureau. If I put a bed frame, that's a small load because they're small, they're pieces.
Right.
If I have, as you said, Chris, a house.
You bulk waste, I think you would kind of have to avoid that. That could be-
Well,
But that's what we're discussing here,
Yeah,
but that's what we're
that's a
discussing
good,
here.
that's a good point, Dave. But I think in the interest, in the spirit of getting this approved and moving it on with a beginning start, maybe something like a small, medium, and large. Because I mean, you could put, please, feel free to consult with the DPW director on the load requirement. Like, I mean, how else could you word it?
We did have small on the next page. It's not on there.
And that's referring.
There
to
was
the
a
nieces.
small bulky load.
Yeah,
Bulky load, small $15, large bulky load 25.
okay.
Right.
Which is that?
Considered a large bulky load.
But,
Multiple
Right.
pieces of furniture?
Now we're being subjective again.
yes,
I mean, we're asking the planning board to,
$25, depending on the weight, if it's a big piece of furniture.
I see you in the back and I
$25.
see Ms. Ryder.
And then you can see the large is 25 for multiple pieces, it
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah.
any sense.
So maybe this is another case where we have to really request help from whoever's got a usable model right now that works with this. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel because we
No,
could be
this-
going around and
well, this one
missing
was-
something simple.
I
this
think
one was
East
West
Providence.
Greenwich that
Right.
I looked at things and a lot of the stuff didn't apply to us. I didn't put Christmas trees in there. People take them and feed other people's goats with Christmas trees.
Right.
We don't dispose of them, right?
And
So-
Mr. Dillon, wasn't it East Providence that I sent you? East Providence has a very
Warwick.
specific, so that might,
I have a question on the bulky.
Warwick does too. Okay.
I'm sorry. This.
Bulky plastic, is that what you, rigid plastic? Is that what you said?
No.
Yeah, I have a question on the bulky rigid plastic drop off at DPW free of charge. Includes the cots and crates and buckets and kids' toys, lawn furniture, flower pots, etc. Since when have we had that?
We do now, I guess.
So we
they'll
have a
take it.
dumpster where people can bring like any type of plastic except for the PVC pipes and drop it in.
Yeah, you can, PVC, I don't even know why they don't accept that, but plastics like.
When you burn
know,
PVC, it gives off poison gas.
Little tykes, stuff like that kind of,
I didn't know we
Little-
had that. How long
Yeah,
have we had
that-
that for?
I'm not even sure, but I talked to Gordon about it and he said that they accept those things.
So that's a different one than we have in our.
Yeah,
I don't see
that's
that
number
here.
four.
Right here.
Okay.
It's right here.
That one was.
Yeah, it's
from-
not on my
Bulky.
sugar sink.
Right, yeah, I know, but
There should be
We don't
three.
have-
They're on both sides.
Well, yeah, bulky rigid plastic.
Yeah.
Includes pots, crates, buckets, baskets, toys, lawn furniture, flower pots.
Mhm,
Does not include PVC pipes and.
right.
okay. I'm gonna, yeah, Mrs. Ryder, go ahead first. And no, you had your hand
Yeah,
up.
there was a
as
gentleman
always.
in the back.
No, there is a gentleman back, but
He
Mrs.
left.
Ryder's very quick. You can take a lesson from her.
All right, Lynn Ryder, Burgess Road. The only question I had is that when I saw under furniture, it said outdoor furniture or lawn furniture,
Mm.
but most of that is the rigid plastic, or is that PVC?
Could be.
And who makes that determination? Because then PVC is not taken.
It's usually stamped on the furniture because, but Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the fire department, doesn't PVC burn and give off toxic fumes?
Yes.
It's not allowed in some buildings, so
Okay. It's just that I think that when you go through again, you need to be rather detailed.
okay.
Like if it's plastic lawn furniture, then it would go under rigid unless it's PVC. And the paint can things. I mean, I grew up with, if you let the paint dry inside, they'll take it.
That's true.
But this late, and is that still, no, they won't take anything at all?
They'll take an empty latex can, you can leave a can
Oh.
of latex paint out, let it dry out over the course of a month, you can throw it in the trash.
Okay,
But oil
know.
based, any kind of
Yeah.
liner, lather.
hazardous waste.
So that's something I
Okay.
think that has to be clarified.
Because there's also
Chris-
hand furniture
Yeah.
and yeah. it
So
doesn't
Chris,
even-
would it be fair for DPW to again, research a model that works and come up with a better formulated hard copy that we can?
And make it idiot proof, because there will be.
Thank you, Lynn. I was gonna say that was me,
Yeah.
directed at me.
I-
Thank you.
I am
Oh.
not sure if it's DPW, but Chris and Heidi had taken this.
Oh,
on,
that's
so
right.
maybe
I'm sorry.
they wanna-
That's right. You guys
So,
have to come up with a
Can,
model. I
Dave,
apologize.
before,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir, come on up, state your name and address.
Matthew Dos Shippey Schoolhouse Road. I was just real quick. Now, I know garbage goes to the Matthew Del Sesto, Shippey Schoolhouse Road. Sorry. I know garbage goes to the landfill, and it's charged by the weight, but you're talking about the small, medium, and large bulk. But can it not just literally be done by measurement? A vanity is 2 by 2 by 2. A dresser is
It's more
2 by
weight,
4.
we get charged by weight.
It is, but the larger thing ends
Oh,
up
so you're
becoming.
paying-
I'm saying.
How you
so
can see where
you could
things
have
weigh
a
out.
vanity I mean, it's gonna be heavy
Oh,
because
for
of
the-
because of
yes.
the top, right?
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
at least you
one's
could
particle
use that to
board, one's oak.
determine
Exactly.
That's something.
What's
to-
gonna be the bulk, you know,
That's UPS.
my,
Yeah, it,
yeah,
it's
If
the
you get a
weight.
Certain box
Yeah.
size, they're gonna charge you a minimum.
yeah.
Right,
Right, it's a weight, not a.
Right.
That's a good
not
start, too.
dimension.
But
so
if you-
that's a
My,
good
my
suggestion.
large dresser, I might think is this, because I'm 5'8",
Mm.
but somebody else, you know,
It's a footstool.
it's a footstool, yeah.
Yeah,
So does that make sense, guys? When you take this back, looking
Yeah.
for those models that really answer those questions?
yeah, I mean.
Thank you.
I had a ton of them and then,
I know what John said, they take everything.
right, but we just gotta decide.
Well, they can afford,
Yeah.
they can afford to pay the bill.
It's
They
what
don't get charged. They don't get charged. Yeah, just put
Somebody
it on
pays
the
for it.
sidewalk.
But he did tell us that
They
the
also have a
deck
lot more
is
businesses.
stacked against us because,
Right.
you know, they changed their fees and.
I think we should get something because we don't have the leaves and
Mm.
other towns take our leaf.
Yeah,
times.
we've talked
And-
about that before,
Right,
like.
so why
letting
can't
some
we
other-
get there,
That's a good
Yeah.
point, too.
right?
That's a
True.
good point.
So we'll.
Go ahead, Dave.
Greetings, Dave Rathbun, Hartford Pike. I'm speaking on behalf of the Conservation Commission. I'm glad to see this being done. We've been talking about seeing something like this for a long time. We've spoken with the council. We've spoken about it for a long time. Here's the problem. DPW garage hours are 7 to 3:30. I
Yeah,
work,
depending.
I work, depending, I work 6 to
Right.
4. When do I bring my stuff?
Mhm.
Read it 6.
Saturday,
Six.
do we have Saturday
Who's there?
hours, Sue, doing?
Yeah, they're all.
Do we have Saturday?
Gate's not
hours?
open. I'm on my way to work. It's,
Gates open?
Yeah, but he's
I
saying
understand
he's on his way to work.
I'm at work at 6.
Oh, wow.
I leave for work at 10 minutes to
Take a
5.
lunch break.
Take a lunch break. Well, you're the answer man tonight. You need a better answer than that, Chris. I hate to tell you.
That is a
You need,
concern.
we've talked about this many times at conservation meetings. If you guys could find a way, I understand union contracts, obligations, all that, but if there was one Saturday a month where you could have the gates open and you could
Mhm.
notify everybody, Saturday, the first Saturday of the month, from 8 to 11, from 9 to 12, whatever it might
That's
be,
what East Providence.
that's
Yeah,
what
that's
you
an excellent
really,
idea. See, it's
you-
simple like that.
you really need to have something
Yeah.
like that. because
Simple answer.
Have it open
people-
like 4
yeah,
hours.
You're just gonna leave it on the side of the road somewhere if you
Right.
can't get
Well,
DPW.
Right on South Killenly Road, this
As-
guy's got a new way of doing it. You put it in the middle of all this these,
The brush,
they're not brush, but it's prickers or whatever they
Mhm.
are.
brush.
It's slowly growing over. You're not gonna see it in another month.
It happens,
Oh.
that happens a
I mean,
lot.
Dave, what are you doing on Saturdays?
What am
First Saturday of the month, what are you doing?
what am I doing?
Bob stepped up, Dave.
Are you offering me a job?
Bob stepped up.
Is he
He's a
being
gentleman.
offered a job?
He's a gentleman.
What does this
Just
pay?
just remember, he's
That's a
not the
union-
chair.
It's a union job.
Putting out volunteer jobs.
I'm the volunteer guy
Busy
tonight.
that year, sorry.
So my other concern is, so you came up with this, which I like. This was.
Yeah, if it's.
I like
it's
that,
Better
but
color.
whose budget is this going to come up? Because it's a sticker, it's gonna cost money. So
I would-
whose budget, so have its own budget? Is that what you said?
It's-
So what the fees that you could,
Fees are
gonna pay for,
Good idea.
and
We're
who's
gonna have to
responsible for
So,
getting
yeah,
to?
Kelly, they would this go into, like, whatever fees we get would go into some kind of separate account to offset?
So while we're starting this, we do have a fund called Rhode Island Resource Recovery where we put some of the scrap metal money in and other
Right.
things. We could pay for the cost of that, of this project through there. And then when the money comes in, it's gonna hit general revenue.
So
Mm.
if so now another question is, the fees are to offset our
Our overage.
our tipping fees.
Yes,
So we can't have it do two things. We can't have it pay for this. If,
what
How
is
much do
that?
you think
This
that's
is
gonna
just
cost?
stickers.
it's right, a sticker, I don't know how much a sticker.
Number, that's all.
Yeah.
$300 a year for stickers, but we
Maybe.
should be
Are you?
generating thousands in fees.
Are you?
No.
I wouldn't even think
Is it a
so.
lot? Is it a lot for stickers?
I'm thinking stickers are gonna be a lot.
Any volunteers?
So those
I'll-
are the-
that's another thing I'll have to research.
So, all right, so I'm going to recommend that we move this to
Chris will
the
have to.
September meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I mean.
Yeah,
it-
go ahead,
We got
Susan.
it starting.
Yep, go right ahead. I'm not gonna read that one.
Susan Joyce, Windsor Road. I love this and I just want to plant in everyone's heads that communication is going to be critical because I'm betting that most people or a lot of the people that put stuff out currently don't even know that they're not supposed
Well,
to.
they would get a red tag. Now, Rambone told us they have no problem. If they have something that has a green tag on it, it means they've paid a fee, we're gonna pick it up. But they have no problem carrying around red tags.
See
And
the
if
red
there is
tags?
something that doesn't have a green tag on it, they would put a red tag that says you need to contact the town.
Right. I'm
But
saying
Heidi,
for that.
people need
I'm-
to be
I'm saying
informed
for that.
before.
So-
So,
yeah.
what
Of
our-
course.
what our intent is,
There's the Foster
to-
Home Journal.
Foster Home Journal, an
Website.
email blast, a
Town
website. So getting
Okay,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna volunteer you to help us out with.
You're talking, you're talking.
He's rubbing off on me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
And this room is full of retired teachers. I'm sure you've got the old mimeograph machines for the stickers, guys.
So,
I think I learned pretty fast if somebody didn't pick up my crap.
Yeah. you
right.
would.
I think so too.
You come home. and-
Okay, I'm going to move on now to the police station update. So Heidi, you're gonna just have to. All right, so the police station update, we have the RFP has gone out. We had questions and answers that have come in. They've been posted. The questions and answers have been posted and then also distributed to those that have looked at the RFP because there's a way, who knew, that the RFP, you can see who is looking at it, who there was interested in, so they log in and they reach out to them. So they've done that. The closing date for the RFP is August 15th. The police building committee will be meeting and then the council will have a special meeting. The only thing on that agenda will be awarding the bid, hopefully. So
This is a design build.
this is a design build. Yes, this is a design build.
The results,
Bidders,
queries did you get?
bidders.
So.
Include, how many?
bidders.
Inquiries,
bidders,
so
yeah.
people who logged into the system using their email, 19.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
I mean, you don't know if those are all, right.
Some of them are marketing, some of them are clearly construction companies, which I'm not gonna name, but some of them are clearly construction companies. Some of them are marketing because they do this and then they reach out to different people, or some of them even could be subcontractors because they want to know what's going on, because then they want to be prepared to bid on the person, with the person who actually gets it.
Yeah.
But 19, and traditionally with this kind of thing, anything major, and actually the majority of our bids, people don't drop off a bid or an RFP, the
Until-
proposal until the day it's due.
Yeah.
And sometimes a little late.
I just think that's great news, Denise.
So, yes, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
Did you have anything you want to add to that? Okay.
That's excellent.
She's not excited yet, and I don't blame her.
Okay, so moving on, we need to schedule a meeting after the 15th. I had put August 22nd as a question mark, but looking at my schedule, I will be in Albany and I do not, after driving home today, I don't want to do that. So if we could look at the week after, maybe the Monday or Tuesday after the 22nd,
The 26th or the 27th?
Maybe Wednesday?
or maybe Wednesday, oh, yep. Or
I
maybe-
can't do the 27th.
Okay. So if we all look at our calendar,
I can do the 26th.
so the 28th is a Wednesday? Does that,
It's only one thing on the agenda.
it's only
Yeah.
one thing on the agenda.
Mhm.
We can have it at 5:30. If that works for people.
But what time are you available?
I can do that.
What day is it again?
It's Wednesday, the 28th.
What's the earliest? I hate to have town hall have to stay. Oh, they.
I can do it.
5:30.
I can do 5:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah,
So does 5:30 on Wednesday, the 28th work?
Does for me.
I believe so.
I think it's worth it.
So I will accept a motion.
Make a motion to schedule a special town council meeting at 5:30 PM, August 28th.
Second. So,
Discussion.
Is that good for you, Chris?
Yeah, that's right.
At 5:30.
Sounds good.
It's one of progress.
Agenda, how you want it to be.
Yeah, once we know. So that'll give us time. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on, distribution of funds amended and approved. We received, Mrs. Dillon received a letter from Mr. Walden regarding, it's in your sugar sink, regarding the distribution of funds. We had voted on this and the June 13th meeting, if you recall, which you also have in Sugar Sink, the minutes and the document that Kelly provided with us. Also in Sugar Sink, you have the rules and regulations, if you will, that Bob Boyden, who was the moderator of the financial town meeting, reads, and highlighted is 10, conduct of the meeting. E, during the town budget portion of the meeting, motions to amend the department budget by a specific amount, either an increase or a decrease, will be in order as an amendment to the main motion, and that it is a bottom line budget. So if does somebody want to read Mr. Walden's letter? And I believe Mr. Rathbun is
I
here
can.
to represent.
To the town council, at the most recent financial town meeting, South Foster Fire Company had a recommended budget of $114,000. $10,000 was added to that amount by the citizens that attended the meeting. This should have resulted in a budget of $124,000 with quarterly payments of $31,000. We were surprised to receive $30,841.25. I inquired with your administrative staff as to the discrepancy. Apparently, someone thought we weren't deserving of the money, ouch, that the townspeople voted to give us. In the minutes of your June 13th, 2024 meeting that were forwarded to me attached, it states that this is a bottom line budget. This is not the case. Also, the attached is a letter from your town attorney that each volunteer department is its own bottom line budget. Some of you were in the attendance of the meeting that generated this legal opinion. We would appreciate your correcting this oversight and follow the will of the people. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Thomas Walden, Treasurer.
So there's a discrepancy of $158
$635
for the year, right? Right. I'm just going by
Right,
that,
right.
that amount.
So
right
it's
there.
$635 a year. So, and as I said, we had voted on it on June 13th.
I wasn't
You weren't here.
here, so yeah, so I didn't get that discussion.
Okay. So further discussion.
Well, I have one question.
Mhm.
I have one question. Maybe Dave, it's not a fair question for Dave. Maybe it is. I want to know, where did the funds go in the dissolution of the ambulance corps building and the funds? Where did those funds go that the town is subjected to funding something that could have been funded with the monies that were left behind when we in good faith took over and paid for the ambulance corps bills, the building, the fees, the insurance, the lighting, everything. I think there's a little bit of a, how can I say this? I'll be as kind as Mr. Walden, as Tom was, and it's nothing personal, but this whole thing about someone must have thought we weren't deserving. Well, the town definitely thinks this is deserving, but the fact of the matter is, if funds were distributed in the dissolution of the LLC, the state requires that the LLC dictates in writing where the monies will go. I want to know where the money went and how much it was. It is to me.
If you,
Issue.
It is-
are you on?
I agree.
It isn't, it isn't relevant,
To
Dave?
this agenda, item, or,
Well, the problem is if I'm asked to vote on
problem
it,
is,
if I'm asked to
it
vote
has
on something.
zero to do with this agenda item,
Okay.
David. You know as well as I do. That has zero to do with this.
Well, it's
The South
offensive.
Foster Volunteer Fire Company and this budget line item has absolutely zero to do with anything to do with the Foster Ambulance Corps. That was also a 501c3. It was not an LLC.
Oh, you're
That's
right.
the most of my knowledge.
You're right.
to
It is
do
a
with
50, it is a
We have
nonprofit, so the funds.
absolutely zero to do with any of the dissolving that
So,
501c.
so counselor,
So we shouldn't even be discussing.
counselor, is it a fair
not on the
question to
agenda,
ask
David.
how much South Foster got? As a payment from the dissolved ambulance corps organization?
It's a fair question, but it's not on the agenda.
10-4.
That's
Thank you,
what I've
David.
just been trying
Thank
to
you.
tell you that, David.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
But I want it on the record that I want to know where the money went.
it's not on the agenda. Put it on the agenda and we'll talk about it all you want.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we can talk about it.
We can.
Don't mean you'll get an answer.
That's
I
right.
can't give you an answer.
Can I,
Do I need to discuss this $635? Do I really need to?
can
Do
I
I need to break this down?
explain the
because-
rationale, seeing that Heidi wasn't here?
Yeah, I wasn't.
All right.
I'd like you to catch me up.
Dave, just out of curiosity, did you see the document I gave to the council
The document. you
that
gave to the
they voted
council,
on
I
at
did.
the last
Yeah,
time?
I have that.
Okay.
I have it.
So basically during that meeting and as I've discussed with Bob, like it's all a bottom line as
It's-
far as the motions that they make, that it impacts the bottom line. So when they were discussing it, it was basically a restoration of what was cut during the,
You're wrong.
that's how I understood it. And I believe when I discussed it with,
You're wrong.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
talking.
All right,
Let's
all right.
let Kelly talk.
I won't
Thank
interrupt you.
Well, I'm a little
Not
ticked
what-
off.
So
I know,
when-
But let's wait.
So when they voted on it, it was basically, they wanted a restoration and that's how I understood it. I think that that's how everybody understood it. They wanted to be restored to what they had asked because there was a cut. So I can't really recall the conversation exactly, but I believe it was more roundabout number, like he said, I say it was $20,000. They cut this, they cut this from the incentive program. They cut this from,
Training.
not training, the
Yeah.
appropriation for South Foster.
Okay.
And then, I know you now, Nicole, correct, made the motion for 10,000 for, and she wanted it to go to the two other agencies. So, that is a bottom line budget in the way that you have other things in there. You have, it's other public safety. That is our department. So we put it on the agenda. I created that document that basically said, this is what the appropriation ask was from each of these agencies to fully restore it. This is what it is, because nobody's going to get up and say, I want $23,350, right? So he said, say 24,000. I'm rounding that up. I have no idea. So when we did we prepared the document, I said, here's a full restoration of everything that was cut. I put the other $5,000 into the two agencies that were specifically mentioned. And so everything was restored. They got the extra 5,000. There was an extra $600. I put a blurb in there saying, if you put this in the incentive, it brings that balance back up, because that was just a roundabout figure. They estimated what they actually needed based on a projection of what they were doing at the time. I think they ran numbers based on the number of runs. So they were kind of estimating what they had. We had cut it to 23.5 because I think that's what it actually came out to be in their estimate. We restored it to the full 25,000, restored everything else to what it was. So we put that extra in there because I believe the overall comments that we'd made during budgeting was that we wanted to bring that incentive back up as much as possible so that it benefits all three departments, which is great for everybody. And B, because as we base percentages, if you try to increase it at a percentage next year, it's at a higher amount now this year. So as you increase it, now you're at a higher amount. That's what I presented to you. That's what you voted on, but that was the logic behind it. It wasn't like a slight in any way, shape or form. It was a full restoration of everything that everybody had asked for originally. And then we put that in there because for years we've been hearing that, you know, we needed some sort of incentive program. And I believe you actually, Dave, argued that point on their behalf, trying to get that as much in that as possible. And that's what our goal was. That's why I suggested that it wasn't a slight for anybody. And it was meant to benefit all three departments who do the runs or whoever is specifically doing it. I figured more money in there, the better. That's why they voted on that.
Mr. Rathman, you're on, right?
Hello?
Can you see numbers? Okay.
I'm over here. Do you have a copy of this letter from Joanna and Julie?
Yes, but I also recall what preceded that letter.
Okay, but this letter specifically states that each department is the bottom line budget, correct?
Yeah, I'll answer to that after you speak your piece.
Okay, so for you, you said
I
that this is the
didn't-
bottom line budget.
I didn't reread
It's
it
pretty
because I
new.
remember the event.
It's not each individual one, it's not a bottom line budget, it's the whole
Can
thing.
you speak that?
Yeah, you just turn the microphone on yourself, sorry. That way you can just point it toward. Not speaking loud enough. Yeah.
So that's unusual, huh, Chris?
Awesome. Thank you.
At no time did I say I wanted to restore the budget to my initial request. Well, you don't recall, you said it 3 times, you don't recall. So for someone that prides themselves on their financial wisdom, you shouldn't not be recalling. You also said that you couldn't find an audio of it, a sound file of the meeting.
Actually say
You said it at the town meeting on June 13th. It's on the video. You said, you specifically said,
Let's not go he, she said. I'm gonna ask, well,
Right.
Dave, can you just wait 1 second? I just want to interject something. Mrs. Dillon, do you have the minutes from the financial town meeting that you can pull up?
I
Why you- why-
specifically added $10,000 to the South Foster budget, $10,000 to the E-board budget, and $1,500 to the
Okay.
incentive. I did not say add $9,365 or whatever your number was.
We're gonna
I
check
said
that out.
10,000.
Because honestly, I
It's
can't
there.
remember.
I do.
Okay, I can't remember. I remember Nicole making it specifically
Second
5,000, right,
time.
the second time.
Correct.
Specifically saying there's $10,000 left over, 5,000
You know,
to foster.
the bottom line is it's $900.
635.
$635. I'm sorry, you're correct.
So-
$635. The fact that we're even arguing about this
Is
and is ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right.
It's the animosity between the Foster Town Financial Department and the Foster, South Foster Volunteer Financial Department is a problem here. And I think that's what is at the root of all this. We can
Okay,
say
so
what we
let-
want, but there's a
Julia
problem.
has the minutes. Okay.
I'm not wrong. But once. Don't say it, Cheryl.
I'm not going to.
Thank you.
Do you want her to just read it?
Yep, can you,
Julia.
Mrs. Dillon,
Go ahead. You know.
Julia
She
has
said
it.
it already.
Are you on?
If you have the page, I also have that.
If you have the page number,
Yeah, it's 2. It says public safety dash others 33. On the second page.
oh, look, bulk waste. No, that's the June 13th minutes. We're looking at the financial town meeting.
Oh,
Oh, look at you.
We're looking at the financial town meeting. Go ahead, Julia.
So what it says is it says public safety dash others 33, $636,970, formerly Department 22. Dave Rathbun amended the motion to add $21,500 to the budget. Lynn Ryder asked for a ballot vote. Motion passed 73 yes and 17 no. The new amount is $797,786. Made and seconded. Discussion none. Motion carried. Second motion was made and seconded to add $11,579 to public safety. Discussion none. Motion carried. That is what the minutes of the financial town meeting say.
It's not what's played on the video. And that's not the way I recall it. It was 31,500 we added.
The whole amount was taken. And, right?
We flatlined the budget for DPW was 33,000.
Right, and that 31.5, which was
to
cut from it
Public safety.
to public safety, right?
then,
Correct. And the
30
breakdown, I can give you the breakdown again if you wish.
then the rest of it went.
To the other.
In fact, never Netherlands, as far as I know. I don't know where the West one is.
So Denise,
Got no argument here.
Dave, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm not being.
No, there's no accusation.
Right.
but Bob's
It's
point
just-
is,
You made a comment also that if you funded us the 10,000, you'd be giving us more than we initially asked for, but you also did the same with Moosehead Valley and Fort Center, you funded them more than they initially asked for. So that really doesn't hold water to me that you would be.
But that was a
more.
specific motion,
No,
5,000.
I made that motion.
No?
I did it because of
the intent, if you recall, I said, I'm trying to honor with this transfer, the intent of what was done. My belief was your intent was to restore what was cut.
I gave a specific number.
I understand what you're saying. I don't recall the specifics, but I do recall Bob saying that you can explain your reasoning for why you're asking, but ultimately it's the bottom line. And I'm not doing it because I'm doing it. I put it in front of the council because now they have it's up to them to decide where it goes. That was just my reasoning, was the restoration of what was cut. This is not a personal thing. It was a restoration of what. Okay. He has a personal issue with everything I do. I can't fix that.
I have a council member that would like to ask something, and then I need to ask Julia a question.
I'd like to move question on the motion. I mean, I think we should make a motion to approve. Yeah, I think we should make a motion
Okay, so my
in the
question
affirmative
is,
to approve.
so my,
Oh,
my.
change, amend the amount.
So my question is, we voted on this on June 13th. How does that move forward if there's a request by the council to change that vote? Is it posted correctly on the agenda?
It's. Your other attorney might want to answer, I guess. So it is posted for discussion action. So
Okay.
you can take action. This does say distribution of funds.
So can we make a motion to make whole the amount
Right,
of
to do
600
Okay, can we
Not-
have one conversation?
It's not make whole, it would
Well,
be additional
additional
distribution of.
600 and whatever,
Whatever the amount is.
So $635.
$635.
But it has to come from somewhere, so you'd have.
This
to-
is not rocket science.
Okay, so the motion would be.
Hold on.
Yeah, because we need to
One
find out
second.
where it's coming from.
What did you just say?
We need to find out where the money's coming from.
You have to say
Take it
you're
from the-
transferring it from
From
The incentive fund.
Incentive program
to
to South.
South Foster.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would want, make a motion to restore $635.
It's not to restore, it's an additional
Additional.
distribution.
Move
add-
the
So it-
distribution.
You just
move
gotta
the
give them
funds.
that amount of money.
So it's not.
We gotta move it from somewhere.
So go ahead.
It's not to restore, it is to take the amount of money that from the incentive amount,
Yep.
from the incentive account and move it to the South Foster distribution, distribute it to South Foster instead.
So a motion to move $634,
Five.
$635, sorry, we'll be back again for a buck. From the incentive program fund to the South Foster Treasury Fund.
Second.
Discussion.
Is 635 the correct amount?
I
I'm
I did the
looking at
math.
it here and
Yes,
my
please.
math is a little.
I tried to get
Yeah,
Dave to settle for
I did the
300.
math.
It's the right amount.
Yep,
Stand up,
Did-
Nicole.
Nicole, did you have to say something?
Say before any motion is made or voted on.
Can you come forward? Thank you.
Let me do
I'm
it.
sorry, Nicole.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Scabbers, 69 Foster Center Road. Before any motion is made on this topic, I would strongly suggest that we get to the bottom of an answer on whether or not it is a bottom line budget in the sense that it's public safety, or whether or not each of the individual volunteer fire companies is its own bottom line budget.
They are.
It's my understanding that Ms. Achille has an opinion. I don't know what that is. But if that's the case, then it's an opinion that's different from what was presented to me before I even made a motion that night. And I find that a little bit concerning, but at the same time, I don't think there should be any motion on this before you know whether the bottom line budget is public safety or it's the volunteer fire companies themselves.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Interesting.
I will,
Should I withdraw the motion?
Kelly, no, I will take
Kelly has-
advice from our solicitor at this time.
Our office stands by the letter that Joanna sent.
The letter that Joanna sent,
Mhm.
which states that each department is its own bottom line.
Individual bottom line.
So they are not, the fire departments are not departments of the town. That it's
Yeah.
essentially directed donations to nonprofit or quasi-governmental organizations.
So is
Which
the motion
different than
appropriate?
what- Which is different than what Mr. Boyden presents
Mhm.
at the,
Does
but
the,
I can also see, I'm sorry,
does the motion stand?
Mr. Boyden might also look at that and realize that he probably was incorrect. If I want to say
Right.
that word.
I don't
And
think
the
we would.
specific
We've talked
part
about this.
Of that item, I'm
I
not
think-
sure.
I think it's a bottom line budget as far, but then there are appropriations made
Yes.
to organizations.
So
and
here's,
then
here's
it's
the
their
basis
bottom
of the
line.
letter. What happened was at that point in time that she had to make a determination. There was money left over. At this point in time, we used to pay people to do runs for the rescue company. So there was a separate line for I don't believe it was called stipend day,
Stipends.
right?
Mhm.
Ambulance Corps stipends. There was money left over in that stipend, so the ambulance corps wanted to use it for something else. I wouldn't let them use it for something else without going to the council first and having them reappropriate the unused funds to the rescue company. It created a large discussion where we disagreed, and bottom line is I wasn't going to do it because I didn't agree with it without the council's approval. The council didn't approve it. They got Joanna to say that it is a line, like that was its separate line item from the appropriation that they gave to the rescue company. That's what preceded that letter.
and when you say they got her to say, you
No,
don't mean that they
no.
twisted her arm to say it.
No, I don't even know in reference
Okay.
that, and when I'm saying that she wrote basically that she researched
I
it
just
and
want
basically.
clarification that they got her to.
Oh, I
say
didn't
it.
even like,
Mm,
right,
okay.
no, it's not that. So her opinion was based on the fact that they were trying to merge those two line items as though it was like one budget. And she said that that's its own line item, its own separation from Foster Ambulance Corps. So they could have transferred the money to a different, and I would have honored that because that's their decision. My point was I wasn't just going to do it without going to the council. And I stand by that decision just as
Makes sense.
that's why she said that.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been a motion made. I'm going on our councils. That's up to the rest of the council members,
I'm fine with it.
what you're thinking.
Have the motion read back. Did anyone write it down?
Can you read the
To
motion?
move $635 from the incentive fund to South Boston. That's all that was said.
Yeah, that's an appropriation or distribution of an account in your control.
Thank you.
Okay. So that motion has been. And all the confusion I didn't, that was made by
David, I think.
David and
So-
seconded
Seconded.
by Christo.
Yeah.
Okay,
That is correct.
further discussion, council,
No.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Thank you. You have been restored.
Welcome, Dave.
Yeah,
Thank you all. By the way,
thank you.
They were.
Can I just say something
Don't
here?
appreciate this
Not even.
Oh, no, it's on the agenda.
Okay,
I
go
gotta
ahead.
I got an itch.
Yeah.
Volunteers in this town. You guys are all volunteers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. You guys get a lot of shit sandwiches thrown your way. You guys work your tail off. I'd say thank you from a lot of people. The town council job is a tough job. I know at any given time, I could call any one of you. You'll answer the phone, you'll listen to me, you'll talk to me, you'll help me. That goes a long way. And I know some people are trying to get reelected. There's people in the audience that are trying to get elected. There's people that are not getting reelected, but I just gotta say thanks, everybody.
Thank you, but I
that are
want-
volunteers.
Thank you for that.
David, I just think that you were wrong at pointing a finger at her the way you did.
Well, Dave, that's what I take exception. Dave, that's what I take.
know,
I
but
know,
she,
but that doesn't make
doesn't
it-
help
David,
her.
that's what I take exception to as well. Kelly's right. She doesn't want to move funds without council permission. So when it comes up and I have to read for the first time, well, not the first time, but I didn't pay attention to it. Apparently someone thought we weren't deserving. That's an aggressive,
That was
inappropriate thing to say to
That
us.
was not.
But you helped that along at today's
That,
meeting.
okay. So we're moving on.
You're welcome, though. Thank you for bringing it up.
Business.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so now
No, you didn't.
we have the adoption of the, under new business, adoption of the hazard mitigation plan. Are you participating in that, Susan? She's looking around like.
Susan,
Okay. So.
do we move it?
We did,
Do we make a-
no, we can make, so the hazard mitigation plan has been forwarded to the council members. It has been brought out to the public to review. We have gotten permission to approve it at the council level before the state does.
Right.
So that we can do it in a timely fashion.
Mhm.
So, that's where we are now. So I'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the hazard mitigation plan as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
Denise, can I say too,
Sure.
didn't she say at one meeting that there might be inconsequential changes?
Yes.
Such as the chart that I provided to everybody.
Yeah,
That's going to be inputted into the hazard mitigation plan and small things that will result from the review process. So it might not look exactly, but they would be inconsequential and they wouldn't change the structure of the document. So what you do adopt is not final.
right,
It
Just be
right,
aware of that.
Right. So it's nothing that's going to be substantial.
right.
In the changes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, North Foster Baptist Church proclamation. So, Georgiana Knox reached out to Mrs. Dillon and myself in regards to North Foster Baptist. It's called North Foster Free Will Baptist Church is what its correct title is going to be, or had their 200th anniversary on
Yeah.
July 31st. They're having a weekend of celebration, September 6th through the 8th. They requested a proclamation from the town. This is what I developed.
I saw her
Somebody
at-
would write.
in Walmart. She was asking me about this. Okay. Town of Foster proclamation of North Foster Baptist Church Day in celebration of their 200-year anniversary. Oh, okay. I read that one. In celebration of their 200-year anniversary. Whereas in the year 1817, Daniel Williams, a member of the Free Will Baptist Church in Burrillville, Rhode Island, commenced his labors in Foster. And whereas as a youthful convert, he was filled with enthusiasm as he told the story of what Christ had meant to him. And whereas in June and July of 1824, he had brought several people into the church through baptism. And whereas on July 31st, 1824, a meeting was held at the Mount Hygeia Schoolhouse to organize the North Foster Free Will Baptist Church with 25 members. And whereas July 31st, 2024 marks the 200th anniversary of its founding, and therefore North Foster Baptist Church will celebrate this most joyous and momentous occasion during the weekend of September 6th through 8th, 2024, with special events. And now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Foster proclaims July 31st, 2024 as North Foster Baptist Church Day in celebration of its 200th anniversary, dated this 8th day of August, 2024.
So I make a motion that Council President DeFranco sign the proclamation.
Second,
Discussion. I will say Ms. Shawley assisted in making it better.
Pretty.
Further discussion? Hearing none, All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I just asked, Preservation was wondering that it's saying that they know.
I thought of that.
So
I can tell you, it's
200 years ago.
Was it
July.
First.
31st of 18?
Held, a meeting was held at the Mount Hygeia Schoolhouse,
1824.
1824. I thought you might want that for,
That's in one of your books.
Yeah, I know, but we keep losing it.
I did think of you,
Misplacing.
so. Thank you for moving on. As we know, as moved on, we have advertised it. You can see that it's number 4 advertising position. It has been advertised already. So a motion would be in place to
Have
approve
we,
that
have we
advertisement.
gotten any responses yet?
No.
Well, that's.
But I did place it, Sue helped me with this because I was on vacation and I was trying to post it. So Sue helped me post it, send it to the Rhode Island Leagues of Cities and Towns, and I took care of the other 3. There's one, there's a planning association there's an association for planners, in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. I posted on each of their websites, got permission to do so and did that.
Okay.
That's,
Go to Indeed.
I will, but I have to be present in the office for that because I will get so much
A
garbage.
zillion, yeah.
I'll get so much garbage from that post that. No, no, Mike is very happy. So, if you have any suggestions of where else to post it, but that's where we've gotten the most positive feedback was always from those 3 agencies. I believe that's how we got Grant to begin with.
Right.
Um,
And
if you have any
I
other
thought
idea.
but there were some applicants from the last time. We might want to reach out to. There was
We
one
could.
gentleman that was interested until he decided he wanted to work at home.
Yeah.
Um,
Except for, I believe, 2 days a
a
month.
month, right, yeah.
So I said we could work something out, maybe a day a week, right? And then didn't he say 2 days a month?
Month,
He was
yeah.
thinking.
So I thought maybe.
That would be
He might be tired of being at home.
That could be a
So,
stretch. So,
yeah.
we could do that. He did, and then
No,
he had
nearby.
he had another
nearby.
piece of property, yeah.
Right, he lived nearby and was moving out of New York and able to work remotely. His,
Yeah, I want to
His
say that
job
he
was
was
New York.
actually settling in New Hampshire or Massachusetts somewhere. I don't know. I can't keep track.
So
so, I will accept-
advertising, you've got that on there, but
Right.
that's already been done. so
right,
we
but
don't
we
even
never
need to-
voted on it, so I didn't know whether we needed to cover and say,
I would like feedback on the actual description of what I put in. The job description was voted on in 2021. We didn't really need to update that. So
Right.
we just I based the advertisement itself on the description.
I thought it was good.
It was good. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
so,
You had a.
Should I make a motion to advertise the position?
yes, thank
I
you.
make a motion,
Yeah, that's
Um,
first.
You always want that. All right, so the interview committee for the planner, I would take it from, you talking about the interview committee or you're talking
No, I'm
about?
just talking about.
Because we have to go in order. So I would suggest 2 members of the council, so we don't have to advertise.
Mhm.
Perhaps someone from the planning board, somebody from the zoning board. I don't know, what's the pleasure of the council?
Who did it last time? Do you remember? We did have somebody from the
I-
planning board, somebody from the zoning
We
board.
had Joanna.
Was it
It was
Joanna?
It was myself
And someone from the zoning
and
board.
The liaison.
to the planning, David.
It
David,
was,
So,
David, yeah.
right,
He's not gonna be here next.
right, I think it was Denise.
hoping
It
we're
was
not waiting
me,
till
it
December
was
to
me,
hire a
Denise,
planner.
I
David.
know that, but.
I don't know.
Was
that David
Mike?
I wasn't on it.
Oh, not David. Mike?
No.
Antonellis,
But no, when Grant got hired,
I think Mike did.
I think Mike Antonellis helped us out.
He did.
Mike Antonellis
Yeah.
helped us. Yeah.
Anthony was,
planning.
but he was in the planning. And then
I
someone
would
from the
look
zoning.
willing to be on it.
We'll probably duplicate that, right? Plan, zone, zone, or at least. Planning board.
So the person who, it was helpful to have Joanna on it because she was doing she does the legal aspect of the
Mhm.
zoning and the planning.
Is
So
Joanna-
whoever is doing that now,
I think it's still Joanna.
It is still Joanna.
I don't attend those meetings that often.
So, all right, so what's the pleasure of the council? And then I'll take Mrs. Ryder.
Well, Cheryl said she wants to be on it.
Mhm.
It's not really, I want to, but I think I
Anthony,
should.
because we don't have a mic and Grant is in New Hampshire. Joanna, I agree, she should be on there. And then I don't know, David.
Do you have the
Or-
time, David?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I don't mind.
And-
David, Cheryl.
You should have an
Okay.
alternate if it's not gonna, because Joanna might not
Oh,
be
an
able
alternate.
to.
And an alternate would be Julia.
Yep.
And the zoning is
Manny
Manny Lanier. I think,
It's a big committee.
I don't think we need Manny on it, really. I think, planning board representation is probably good with legal counsel. No offense to Manny, I mean, he's good guy, but I don't.
okay,
I just don't
So
think
we
that,
have-
like,
yeah.
when you bring
Got
the
one,
town
two,
and
three,
into like.
four,
Senate
and
rule.
Kelly.
It's a
Kelly
lot.
should be on it.
She
I
said,
said-
Denise said me.
I said Kelly.
Yeah.
So I just want.
How many
Odd
is that?
number, that's five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an odd number, which is good.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then, okay,
So
so
remember.
we have Cheryl
It was all
Hawes,
Zoom back then.
Joanna or Julia,
You're gonna scare the guy away.
David,
Whoever's gonna interview with 5 people, you're gonna scare him.
Or six. I
Six.
don't see
Well, you
that.
need an
1,
odd
2, 3,
number.
4, 5, 6.
no,
No,
I
you
got
don't. You're
5.
not.
Oh, I've got Julia in the absence of Joanna. I
Right.
wrote her name down, so, okay, yeah.
Never mind, Joanne, Julia says I'm all wet.
They're
all introduction to the job, she says.
So we have Cheryl Hawes, Joanna or Julia,
Mhm.
David, Anthony Renzi, and Kelly.
And hopefully somebody we're interviewing. That
Hopefully.
seems to be the big thing.
That is, but at least if we have somebody come in, we can grab them. Any. So I would accept a motion.
So
We have to have a motion first.
sorry, that's right.
So moved.
Okay. Did you get
Second.
that, Mrs. Dillon? Okay. So Chris Stone and Cheryl Hawes. Discussion, Mrs. Ryder.
I just wanted to know the rationale where at a previous meeting, and there was another position that could possibly be advertised, it was determined that so close to an election, the next council should do that. And yet we have a situation with the planner and it's full steam ahead. So
Okay,
I'm just,
I can,
go
I
ahead.
can answer that. One is contractual by charter, one is purely pleasure of the council.
I
And-
understand that, but even if it's contractual, somebody's on probation, so it's not like they're there forever.
Okay.
If there's a change. And
So you
so I
would
don't see the
like the
difference.
planner to continue remotely and not have somebody present?
Well,
I'm
it's
not-
what?
I'm not willing to do that.
Okay. All right,
I-
I'm just
I
wondering because
understand
there
what
is
you're
a
saying.
difference.
And actually Kelly and I had this conversation because we always say you serve at the pleasure of the council. So yeah, I think it'll be hard to find somebody to say, hey, come December, you might not be appointed.
Mm.
That might be difficult. But
That's a great
I would
point,
also
really.
think that the next council would also think that finding planners is very difficult. So
Dunno.
And-
I get you.
And
I understand that.
a 3-year contract
you
is
know
not
what?
gonna be on the
Candidates right
ballot,
here.
right?
If they got somebody that's interested, let us know.
Yeah.
So
See,
I
No,
agree, Mrs. Ryder,
Yeah.
but
Even
I'm
why-
also, I'm trying to weigh.
So in the spirit of consistency, Lynn's right, but Denise makes a great point. I mean, we can't hire somebody with the expectation that they're gonna be gone in 3 months, 4 months.
Mm.
It wouldn't be right, and I think if they look at that, they would run the other way. I mean. why would
I
you
agree with
uproot
that.
yourself
That's
for
why
such a
I
job?
agreed to be on the on the
Are we still-
interview committee. I'm hoping that I might be one of them
Okay.
still. I don't
I
know,
agree, but I also think, Mrs. Ryder, that
but I agree with her.
Grant working remotely is one thing, but we need somebody to be able to meet with
Right.
residents when there's.
We'll have limited representation, which isn't fair to the residents
I've
or
gone-
businesses.
I've personally gone back and forth on that because I agree. That's what I thought. And Kelly and I talked about it that, okay, now you tell somebody, oh yeah, here's a job.
So how would that
December.
work? Like if we hire somebody they're like on probation for 6 months, right? So how do you then have like a new
But they
council
work at
come
the
in and
pleasure of
say,
the council.
that's what I think there's a, I don't know,
It's not a contract.
No,
what's that?
At
the
will.
planner is not a
They-
contract.
They
Yeah.
could, but-
You could be 1 and 3.
well, we won't put that as one of the main focus points in the interview.
But it is something that,
Just us meeting.
it is something that I would point out
You-
if I was on the interview committee.
You have
that
to.
You, I mean, that would just be ethically sound to say,
Mm.
hey, listen, you're gonna uproot yourself, but guess what? Come December.
For reference, when I was first hired,
Vacation.
and I believe Lynn, you actually said on the council at the time, you did say that to me, and you also said that it most likely wouldn't happen and that the chances of it happening were like slim to none. And I did honor that and respect that to some. Oh, I've tried. But we would say the same thing. And honestly, in the 15 years that I've been here, we've never replaced a planner on the whim of a council.
Mm.
It's been rough going way back in the beginning with one particular candidate, and I did say that to you too, Denise,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So that's why you do have to disclose that as an issue, but it's not a position that has a lot of turnaround,
Yeah.
turnover
council-
at the council's pleasure. It's
Right.
it's a position that we have
And there's not a
difficulty
lot of
keeping.
applicants.
Right.
either.
Right, that's
So-
my other thing is that there aren't a lot of applicants.
Right.
Get started.
They're not, I mean, statewide.
There's a
lot of
shortage.
Cities and towns are having a hard time finding.
Like building and zoning
Some
officials.
Some people have
Like
actually
zoning
started
and
to
building
share.
officials.
To share a person
It's
for a
the
couple of
accreditation
communities.
efforts. You know something too, Lynn, and you know something too, it's fair. It is fair to consider the fact that it's not reasonable to expect Grant to want to perform until December or January. What if something comes up and we're gonna put ourselves in a real pickle if we have nobody, or we haven't even attempted to hire anybody.
Mm.
Because there's no guarantees that he'll be around forever for us.
There
Like
is-
Mike said he would be in attendance and then he was gone.
Right. There are seconds in almost every position that we have. There's no second in planner. There's no backup for the planner. There's foremans. I have a deputy treasurer. And even though these positions might not, she is a deputy town clerk, even though there's no expectation of a full, complete, continuance, there is something. There's no backup for a planner.
So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Concerns have been brought out. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we can talk about the advertisement. So Kelly, where have you advertised?
So I advertised for the 3 planners associations in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, the leagues, cities and towns. And my daughter's a recruiter, my future daughter hopefully is a recruiter. So I'm just gonna ask them, what are the most positive websites that what are the most positive websites that they would recommend that we could place an ad? To bring it out. I mean, we've had some luck with Indeed, but we get
Oh, yeah.
200 emails for,
Yeah.
and they could have, you might put in there, you need to speak English and you're gonna get English majors. Or, cause they pick a word.
Right.
And then, so we're gonna have to really streamline the words that we choose in order to get the best candidate. And anybody who wants to help me with that, I'm all for it. Because
Does LinkedIn allow you to advertise? for jobs?
I don't actually know about that. They might, anybody who knows,
LinkedIn is very popular. too.
yeah.
Can you go there, make sure it's on and then? All right.
I don't know this for sure, but I do know that on LinkedIn, people can share a job description to their own networks. So that is a possibility that whatever job description you have posted, if a number of people have LinkedIn accounts, they could put it out there and say, take a look at
So we
this.
could blast it.
I
I
mean,
think so.
I do have a LinkedIn account.
I do too.
But I'm not a huge presence on LinkedIn
either.
or social
Me
media, so I'm not probably the best person, but whoever, if we have a council member or I could lose, but I don't have a lot of people because I'm not a I'm not a big,
I could use, if you send me the ad, I can use my son's, he's got thousands.
okay, there you go.
Thanks.
All right, and if any, I'll take any other options.
Yeah, Why
But the
not?
whole
Or-
point is, the problem with the college is there's no experience. You need somebody with
Is
experience.
it on?
Okay,
You have the numbers.
and that's what Grant was.
You'll see the screen.
It's not working.
There you go.
Now it is.
Oh, it's on.
Okay.
There you go.
Nicole Andrews Scavenge, 69 Foster Center Road. For LinkedIn, I think the easiest way to do it would probably be to set up a company page for the town of Foster. Create the job ad from there, and then anybody who does have a presence on LinkedIn would be able to then take that job ad and share it.
Awesome. Good
And
idea.
I do agree, someone mentioned in the front here, for colleges, University of Rhode Island's master's programs have a number of people that will go into planning. They have some experience where the undergrad candidates may not. But I know, my professional master's degree program there has a lot of people who work with GIS and remote sensing, and a bunch of them went into planning and did a pretty good job with it, so.
Excellent. Good news.
Got that, Cal?
It's getting more encouraging all the time.
It is.
Any more volunteers?
Broadening our scope every time we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
The same
Eh,
position.
We're getting good. We should all be planners soon.
Oh, God.
We did not vote. Okay, so we've had a motion, it's been seconded, there's been discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. The bid award for the heating oil, I guess only one bid came in, it was rather high. So Mr. Rogers has, requested that it go out to bid again.
I guess the other bid was late, right?
it was late.
It was late, so.
He misread.
So
Heating oil.
I would rather not say publicly if you go out to
Yes.
bid, because it's not really fair to the person who did.
It's
in the high $2.
Oh. We're getting.
I'd rather not say it all because, so I
Right.
did provide it to them,
was-
but I would recommend that we don't say anything because it's really not fair from a competitive bidding standpoint.
So,
I make a
We need
motion
one,
that
thank you.
we go out to bid again for the heating oil contract.
Second.
A third.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. I will now take a motion to go into executive session.
Right, how many different ones do I have here? Okay, I move to go into executive closed session pursuant to Rhode Island
We need
General
to
Law
quiet those so you can hear.
42-46-5 for the, oh my goodness, for the discussion of personnel according to Rhode Island General Laws -42-46-5A1. And for discussions or work sessions regarding collective bargaining, contract negotiations, or litigation. According to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46.
We need it quiet so they can hear.
5A2.
Second.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, thank you.